Thank you, Bonnie Janowski, for referring Manijeh to us. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Good. Manijeh considers herself a cognitive and behavioral scientist, searching for truth and peace. She has communed with nature since childhood. As a teenager immigrating to the US, she experienced cultural shock and added learning difficulties to ADD and dyslexia. She married, raised 2 sons, continued her education, experienced financial success while living a codependent and chaotic life, and eventually found refuge in mindfulness and Buddhist teachings. She became an organizational psychologist and co-founded Mindful Valley, became a certified mindfulness facilitator and teacher by the UCLA Department of Psychiatry and Board of Behavioral Sciences, and managed Perfectly Here, a nonprofit mindfulness center in Tarzana. She has received rave reviews from students as well as clients like Disney, Kaiser, HealthNet, Motion Picture Fund, and Television Hospital, Dignity Health, universities, and for-profit and nonprofit organization. The life-shattering loss of her 26-year-old son propelled Manijeh to free herself from delusions about life that create so much suffering for humanity. So I'm just so pleased to have you with us today presenting. Thank you so much.
Well, hello. Oh my goodness, I forgot all about all that. Thank you for having me. Just sitting here listening to everybody. This is such a rich, rich community and loving, and I feel blessed to be here. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for recommending me, inviting me to come and share something valuable, I hope. And yeah, life is a mystery and we all learn from each other. So I hope I have something that is beneficial to offer. I created a presentation and, you know, I can do that really well. And I also can just speak, you know, have a conversation. I don't know which route you prefer to go. You like to see visuals and me clicking through presentations, or you just rather hear what I have to say. I myself am kind of right now conflicted. I feel like, okay, you know, the presentations keep you regimented and on the point, right? And then there is so much more that those few lines don't say, right? So I will, let's see, I will go ahead and do the presentation and then hopefully it will be as smooth as I like it to be. Let's see. Okay. Let's just minimize this. So, yeah, so all of that was just said. Life, you know, brought me into discovery, you know, looking at what's going on, what's going on in this world, you know, and put me on a path to really genuinely and very determinedly, you know, finding out what is the issue and how can we solve it. And so, of course, I'm not the only one who's done this and will not be. Maybe we can just sit for 5 minutes. I will guide you in meditation and go from there. Just however you're sitting is fine. Just pick up a little bit of more upright posture. In a way that you know this is a different activity than just sitting in other ways that we do in life. Take a deep breath, let it out. If you like, you can close your eyes. If you want to leave them open, you can have them look down somewhere dimly so you're not being distracted. Just try to relax your shoulders, relax your hands. Gradually relax your forehead, your face, jaws, chin. Take a deep breath in, and you could let it out with a ha sound. Ha. I find it very helpful to do that. Just become aware of your body, your physical body in this space. Wherever you are, there's a chair you're sitting on, or a cushion, or a couch, or a floor, or a surface. Feel the connection between your body and this surface, this thing that's holding you. And notice what's present in your body. There may be a little tightness, tension, maybe a little tingling, some sensations that might catch your attention. Relax your legs and let this moment be about nothing else but just you, yourself, making a micro movement to make yourself comfortable. When you bring awareness to yourself, you can see how you might have not paid attention to some way that you are holding your body. Some muscles are being tight, maybe. And if you pay the attention, you can let it go, let it release, let it descend. And of course, the mind is talking. Mind is full of engagement that makes it difficult to feel the body. It's okay. Let's take a deep breath. Very loud. And bring a sense of kindness, an attitude of open kindness to this body, to yourself. A sense of understanding, a warm understanding that this body is not permanent. It was not built to stay the same. It's changing, fluctuating. We can allow for it, allow it to do that. Go with the Tao of things. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And gently open your eyes. Okay, hopefully that got us a little bit centered. So my journey of all kinds of sufferings that is normal for everybody, that has shown up for me too. I have come to wonder why is all the advancement that we make in all kinds of avenues and arenas of life, why hasn't this striving to better everything for ourselves has not ended our hardships, our mistakes, our suffering? Why are we still such, intelligent beings that we've become in every way? Why is it that we haven't resolved this matter of suffering? Why is there so much still unhappiness, anxiety, stress, conflict in our, in our species, within our species, and also the planet? We've done so much to advance ourselves. Not only we haven't solved the problem of unhappiness and discontentment and agonies, we've also, they say, we've ruined the planet. So I don't know amongst you if anybody here is not of that mindset or not, but these are the things we are facing in as a human species. And when we think that we are the smartest beings of the amongst the animal realms, you all have been talking about UFOs. I don't know, well, I'm not making reference to that, but amongst the beings on this planet, we think we are the smartest amongst all of us. And so this is me, a representation of me, not my picture. But it's about, how, yeah, I communed with nature, walked away all the time from the adults, from the grown-ups, and looked at stones and pebbles and the river, and just questioned, why is the rock, hard, and the water is soft, and why are they so harmoniously together, and how is this working out? And maybe not with so many words, of course, but always looking at the relationships that are out there. And I remember being so in tune with this, that one time at a funeral or something, there was a lot of people going at that reception or so, and it was a hot day. I remember a hot summer day. I was playing outside in the yard, and this one gentleman came out of the room, and I was maybe 4 or 5. I came out of the room and asked me, "Do you know where I can find some water? It's so hot to drink." And I said, "Yes, in that corner." And he went to the corner, he got the water, he came back, and he said to me, "Wow, if there was no water, what would we do?" And of course, he wasn't looking for an answer, but I responded. I said to him, "Nothing. If there was no water, we wouldn't need water." And that was just, when you think about it, at that age, to think like existential thoughts. Uh, Water is there because not because we need it or not need it, it's just there. If it wasn't necessary, it wouldn't be there. The element of water, I was thinking. And so there were intelligence brewing and growing in me, that when, as I started growing up, it became difficult. These messages that we get from family, from society, we begin to have a template for ourselves. We begin to have an approach to life that is very much not in tune. The girls should behave like this, the boys shouldn't cry, and the heaven is under the feet of mothers. This is what I grew up hearing, which brought immense amount of suffering, thinking because you're this angelic, being, that you're supposed to be suffering, you're supposed to be giving, you're supposed to be sacrificing, you're supposed to be I mean, lots of other different kinds of messages we get and we learn. If you have not enough money, you don't have enough value in this society. When I immigrated here, things change. If it looks like a duck, acts like a duck, it must be a duck. Assumptions, interpretations that become facts for us. Humans are smarter than animals. You won't be happy unless you have all these other things. Always people are selling things to us, constantly telling us, you need a hand massager. You need a machine that would massage your hand. Like, oh no, what am I going to do without this hand massager? Yeah, I need to have it, and millions of other messages that form our reality growing up. And so, they give us the message that Only if we do this thing or accomplish that thing or be with such a person or have such a community, or that's the only way we're going to be happy. And yet we do we do all this too. We go for it. And then the sort of problem of unhappiness, conflict, agony, agitation, irritation. Yes, the tire, I had the same experience a few nights ago. Tire goes flat and we are bewildered. What? You know, that being bewilderedness is not released, is not resolved yet. Our reaction, our the way we handle difficulty is still very difficult. And so I had to look, I had to, come and see what's going on in this world. Why is this still happening? And so, I mean, I've taught thousands of people, I've worked with thousands of people in relation to changing mind, changing behavior. I personally have trained myself through so many educational systems, as well as going to silent retreats. I've done 15, 10-day long silence, and I mean silence, not talking, and getting teachings and going inward into the psyche of my mind and see what's going on, you know? As this growing up, we built this human template, this model that I call it I made, life stuck. So the I made template begins to grow as we are passing from the beginning of life that we are born. We don't know how to be a human. We are not born with pre-designed templates. So an acorn is planted and a tree comes out. Any kind of seed you plant, a basil seed becomes a basil plant. A lizard goes and becomes a lizard. Lion goes and becomes a lion. Everybody has their own sort of pre-designed, pre-programmed for what they're supposed to become. But we humans don't have it. We don't have that pre-design. We have to learn every single thing from scratch of how to be a human from our social gathering. And so this informations that come to us, whether they are biased or not, whether they are faulty or not, we take them, and then the human society puts meaning and perception onto everything. And this meaning and perception of life, we accept it, we opt into it, and then it becomes our habitual way, our approach to life, whether it's about something we are doing or some way that we look at the world or our neighbor or our life or our husband or marriage or concepts, any way that any part of our life that we are involved in, it's an approach and a meaning that it's an association of all the things that we have learned. And so becomes our disposition default when we keep doing and thinking those ways and doing things the way we do, becomes maybe almost our personality. And then we are stuck, we don't see it, we're stuck in those ways. Of course, there are those of us who are always investigating, looking, wanting to change, wanting to grow. But as a whole, as a general, human process, it can be very difficult. And so we become bewildered, why so and so did such and such? Why are, the news is doing this? And so it's a place we get stuck. It's not in line with the Tao of things. Now that you showed that, I think I'm going to use it. The Tao of, the way that nature works, the way that things flow. And there's a lot to talk about that. So, and, when individuals think about or live in these ways, societies are built out of individuals. And so all of us, we feel stuck, and we maybe not even know it. A lot of times people don't know they're suffering. They think they're supposed to be upset. I had clients who would say, or people come to the presentations, are you saying that if my leg is broken, I shouldn't be upset? Like, yeah, the leg is broken already. That's pain enough. And getting upset over it is an added sort of suffering to it. And so we wouldn't account for that as something that's agony, that's extra. We think it's supposed to be. We are supposed to get upset about everything that doesn't go our way. So again, there's a lot to talk about that. So then we come to, the hero's journey wants to begin. We are kind of like, struggling to change, to understand why can't, our suffering end in a lot of times, in a lot of places. I used to be in that place with my marriage, and it was just one confusing event after another, one painful event after another. And why can't this change? And, we therapy and psychology and trying to figure it out. It's our parents' fault, we point to something. Maybe I'm unlucky. Maybe it's just not, it's my destiny to be upset, to be sad, to be miserable, to be, or some people just like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care that the planet is dying. It's fine to me. I'm, so we have these ways of responding or reacting. Some say it's the government's fault for everything and anything. It's the corporation's fault, it's the system's fault. And, no matter whose fault it is, every entity is made out of people, humans, who are sort of grown up to have some template that they are following. And a lot of the parts of these templates are faulty, defective. We learn through things that other people thought they were, accurate, and it wasn't accurate. And so, so in my quest to, on my hero's journey and my quest to find out what's going on, I mean, I delved deeply into the Buddha's teachings and examined all of them and incorporated all of them, and really went deep to understand my own the codes in my brain, my way of looking at life, and undo them. And then that wasn't enough. So I went into science, I went into brain, I looked at the brain, I looked at other sciences. And so really a genuine way of understanding what's going on. So yeah, science now tells us, brain science, that we are partially wired at birth. Evolution, human evolution, allowed us to raise our children differently, because everywhere around the world, people have different cultures, different religions, different belief systems. Okay, so we won't make you an exact human with these, functionings that belong to the human race. We'll leave it up to your people to to finish the wiring of your brain, which is, the brain is, what it does is just manages our life. It to begin with, it comes with some fundamental wiring to manage our biologically, neurologically, physiologically, manage those needs and budgets that we have. But as a functioning human being, it doesn't have any codes to begin with. And so the social and society, including parents, teachers, friends, neighbors, all the other people in the world that we are exposed to, that each of us are exposed to, they help complete or build the rest of the wiring of the brain. And so the brain also comes with some biases. It is pre-programmed with biases, some biases. One of them is novelty bias, something that's new. that's creative or new. We have more attention to it. Oh, what is that? Let me see. We become sort of in tune with it. And then the next bias is truth bias. So because of efficiency, because it doesn't have time to go, the brain doesn't have enough resources to go and fact check everything. It opts to believe. The default is to believe whatever we think in our head. If it's got a few, likelihood of it being true, doesn't matter. You believe it to be true. Uh, and or whatever what we hear from external, we believe it to be true, unless we are an expert at something, or unless we really know that, no, this thing is not true. But all these other millions of other moments of life, we keep believing whatever we think is true, whatever we see, especially if it's novel, new, we may question it. So generally, the truth bias is there, and then confirmation bias. If that was it, that wasn't enough. Whatever that you know. So, for example, right now you're listening to me. If anything I say resonates with the truth that you have in your mind, it confirms them. You tune into it, and you kind of are open to accept it. If it doesn't, if it's a conflict with what I'm saying, like whatever you have, other truths you have in your mind, conflict with what I'm saying, it's going to just kind of resist and not go there and not even pay attention to. So these three are just some of the biases that are very useful for us to understand. And what happens is, as we grow up, we learn a lot. A lot of things we learn are faulty, but also a lot of things that we need to learn are missing from life, like a relationship to the planet, for example, the relationship to resources, relationship to so many different things that about the brain, for example, we miss out on. And so, uh, let's see. So I mean, there's a lot more to say, but what the solution I found was in the, to elevate the humanity out of this conflict, agony, uh, frustrations, not understanding life, is something that I call life intelligence. I mean, I have been very much looking into this and seeing what is missing and what is not accurate. We have all these truth biases that we got part of our programming in our life, the way we look at things, the way we understand things are faulty, and some of them are missing. So what's going on? So there is three dimensions of life that I think we need to become intelligent about. One is the systems that govern our life, both natural systems and constructed systems, which they make up the three-dimensional life intelligence systems. Natural systems such as energy, such as life and death, such as change, maybe karma, cause and effect. There are many others. Constructed systems, business, belief systems, school systems, artificial intelligence. There are systems that we create that if we understood how they work and what are the ramifications or implications or impacts, maybe we can do better. And also on having a proper relationship to the planet. The planet is the source for life, everything we have, everything we are, everything we own. This cup of, water or tea, and the water in it comes from the planet. The phone, the microphone, the computer, everything. Nothing exists, nothing we have created that did not come from the planet, And so understanding there are boundaries to it, there are limitations to these resources. this is something we miss. And then in the human realm, so there are 3 dimensions that we could actually develop and grow and become knowledgeable and align ourselves with. Human, our brain, our perceptions, our biases, how emotions are formed, our cognition, the way we make conclusions, are the obstacles in our mind, in our psyche, the actions that we have, the impact, obligations we have, our livelihood, our relationships, the future generations. There's a lot, into this, but for the sake of time. And so, in order to actually develop these 3 dimensions of life intelligence, there is 5 stages that, again, because of time, I'm not going to get into them. There's a 5 stages of optimization. So 5 stages where we, hear some kind of a knowledge instead of the information that was biased that we got from the beginning. Maybe we have some kind of a truthful knowledge, and then this truthful knowledge, we are told, we find it, and the second stage would be we go and look into it, we verify it, we authenticate it, we bring it in our own experience. So for example, in meditation I say, well, feel your body, feel the connection between yourself and the surface you're sitting. So you bring that into your field of awareness, you pay attention. Oh yeah, let me see, what does that mean? Is there tension? Is there tightness? Is there, if I relax, will it go away? You verify it for yourself. Anything and everything you can actually, instead of falling for the truth or not, or ignoring it, if it's a worthy knowledge, you look into it, you pay attention to it. And then third stage of it is developing skills in alignment with this knowledge. So if, in those 3 dimensions, there are many, many subcategories that I would be teaching, or someone would be talking about it. And okay, if this makes sense, like, okay, let's do composting. Let's be aware of our consumption, be aware of our, how much trash. For God's sake, does any other animal on this planet leave trash behind? And we are the smartest ones, supposedly, right? Nobody else. So how do we, the next time you order something, you think about, what do I do? I wrote to Amazon and I said, you know what? Every time I buy something, that was way in the beginning of pandemic. Every time I buy something, I feel like I'm polluting the environment because the packaging that comes, it's in plastic, lots of plastic. And would you please do something about this? I don't know what to do about it. You're a big organization, you could do something about it. Sure enough, that order came without plastic. And ever since then, about 3 years now, I have not received a plastic package from Amazon. So, someone says maybe you could do something about it, and then you go and you test it out and you do something about it. So developing skills around this worthy knowledge. And then it becomes the fourth stage is becomes you transform, becomes now, instead of falling into previous habitual ways, the stuck model, now you're transforming into better ways, one by one sort of a facet of life at a time, right? You transform, this becomes your effortless, becomes your new trait, becomes your new way of life. And if you go back to the old ways, you have a pathway, you know how to come back and do it better. And you could, resonate with this in any other example of your life that you want to. And then the fifth stage is optimization, which means if you have become transformed in these 3 categories of life intelligence, understanding systems, understanding the natural systems, how the flow works. When they say Tao, the flow, the water flows downwards. when it piles up over here, there are these benefits over here. When you understand and you're able to translate that into your everyday life, not as a philosophy, but as an everyday life, that, okay, when I uh, feel this way and act upon it, such a thing happens. When I think this way and respond in the other way, such a thing happens. You see the flow. You see that the flow of energy is always moving, is always moving. If you may test it out and see, you going with this flow of energy, is it to your best interest, or not going with this particular flow of energy? So I hope I haven't lost you. I'm trying to use examples that we have been talking about this morning, and I've heard from the group and presentations. And so this optimization comes when we actually become trained and live life according to a more attentive, more thoughtful, wise, compassionate way. Also systemically, what are the components of when policies are made, for example, if policies are to prevent harm to a particular population, let's say, and then they end up harming another population. So obviously it wasn't really thoughtfully thought about, you know. So when you understand the systems of nature, you can actually and embody it and really get it from your own intuition, from your own like knowingness. Then you can also be thoughtful about creating better systems that humans need to work with. So we, as an organization, have this 20-year vision to optimize 1 billion people around the world, bring all this training to them and facilitate it so that we could change the course of the trajectory of our life and create a more wiser, more compassionate world to create when we do AI is taking over, has taken over. There's a lot of concerns about that, a lot of benefits that comes with it, but also a lot of concerns about it. So hopefully with these kinds of trainings, and so that people can actually be much more thoughtful about the imprint, the impact, the way we every word we say has an impact. Every act we do has an impact. Everything we create has an impact. So become more ethical about that, and as creating people who are developing the minds who are more curious, more thoughtful and curious about things rather than assuming and interpreting and concluding and going into that stuck model, right? And having people who are responsible, fair, when they're building businesses and policies. So again, this is very quick presentation of a much bigger view, and also having the proper relationship for the planet, whether we believe it is going towards destruction or not, that's irrelevant. The point is that this planet gives us everything, and we need to be respectful of it. We need to be responsible to take care of it, and not just take and take and take. And it doesn't feel to me that this group right now is that kind of a group, but as in general, billions of people around the world are doing that, and so we can change this hopefully, and having some healthy living life that creates abundance and respect and harmony for all of life, and especially doing this for our future generations, so that they don't say, what did you do? You left us with so much, more to take care of, or less resources, or more issues, and all the beautiful things that come from our ancestors are being lost. All the knowledge, all the insights, all the care and consideration that we have learned through our ancestors are being lost. And so hopefully within 20 years, we would have done it. We did it. We didn't let, the world to go into destruction, but actually creating people um, and generations that are careful and thoughtful. And so how we're going to do this, we, as an organization, we have I'm always building, allies with experts about different types of things that are concern our lives, and also having this comprehensive training model, certifying teachers. We have a few teachers in training right now, therapists, coaches, to teach these things. And we plan to, one of our, really beautiful missions is to build this self-sustaining school, that the things we are teaching people to bring into their lives, the school is already doing it. I mean, my home is already doing that, and we do a lot of retreats in this house, but this is, my place, my personal place. But, building a school where it could be a model to bring it around the world, to replicate that model around the world for different parts of the world that could be useful to them. And using AI, gamification, other ways to train people, maybe making these trainings into games, and of course we're teaching these things online as well. And so where we are right now, accomplishing this vision, we have the model, which is really great. We have the team teachers and our training teachers right now, continuing to build these coalitions, and our organization right now is building capacity to scale these courses online, to build this self-sustaining school model, and to develop the games. And so we ask that anybody who's interested, who thinks this might be a worthy thing to do, to join us, if you like, aside from just listening and hearing and learning something. You might be interested, you may have some resources, you may know people who want to be a part of these efforts that we are making. And so I will stop sharing now and see if there's any questions or comments. Hopefully that wasn't like a plug into our programs, but but yeah, anyway.
Manijeh has also written a book, and so that will be exciting when that as that comes out as well.
Thank you, Bonnie. Yes. Yeah, it's all about how do we make a more substantial, change? How do we do it? And from my perspective of becoming a teacher, is that, yeah, we don't know, but if we knew better, we could do better. And it's not judging anybody, any entity or anybody, because of that wiring system that our brain has, and we grow up to learn the way we do, and we believe it. Everybody believes their own ways, so no judgment. Let's see, is there anything in the chat that people have said?
If you're open for comments or questions, you could just ask, people can just raise their hand if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, please, yes. Go ahead, Paul.
I think there's a real innate understanding of the things you're saying. We did business team buildings for about 25 years. And one of the modules that we did in the beginning to get people to listen to each other was called Be Here Now.
Yes.
And then, of course, we did accountability, teamwork, mutual support, all the standard stuff. And about 15 years into this, we did a survey of all our past clients, like of all the modules that you experienced, what was the most valuable for you? And the unanimous answer was be here now, be present.
Yeah.
And these are business leaders. These are not people on the path, if you will, but there was an immediate recognition of the importance of being present. So I think the seed is there in almost every human. So
Yes, yes. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yes. And so why is it? Why? Why is that unanimous, right? Be here now is really without burden. When we are present, all the burdens that we carry in our mind lifts and falls off for that moment that we are present. So we want to be present, and that's the thing, that the learning we do not learn. So in the human sort of dimension, there's so much that we don't. Not everybody learns them, and then we get bits and pieces, right, from everywhere. From this seminar we get this one, from that workshop we get that thing, from this uncle we get this thing, from that grandmother or this teacher. We don't get a full training about all kinds of ways that are necessary and pertinent to a happy life, to a fulfilling life, as well as to living in an interdependent sort of reality, So, yeah, thank you for that. Yes. Yes, go ahead, Diana.
It's wonderful what you're doing. It really makes sense. I think that one of the reasons that the world is so chaotic right now is that it's really shaking us into some kind of depth to look at this. I mean, it's like we don't have any choice except to become aware of what you're talking about and how we've been habituated and all of that. And something that keeps coming up for me is this thought of ego to essence. My favorite book is called Passionate Presence. It's by a woman who's very ensconced in Buddhism and is a great teacher, Catherine Ingram. And almost every line of that book has been calling to me so much lately. And the book that I used for yoga certification was so deep into the stillness and all that. And that's what's drawing me into the direction that is drawing me right now. And I love what you're doing. I think to have some kind of a teaching module that people can understand and get the clarity that you've put out there is deeply wonderful work that you're doing. So I'm just grateful.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much. Yes. And so, for myself, I've always said, how? So, going through graduate school, leadership is like this, and this kind of leadership is better than the other kind. Okay, so what does it look like in action? How do I do it?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a gap between the philosophy of things and the actual embodying of the knowledge, developing the skill to align yourself with that. So being present by itself is not enough.
Right.
In the present moment, everything is inclusive. There is pain, there is suffering, there is agitation, there is somebody who's blaming you and shaming you. There are these things. So what do I do in every occasion in the present moment, as I am not making a bigger issue out of it, but I have to respond? That too needs to be learned. So
that word embodiment, that word embodiment, I think, is really key.
Yeah. And I hope people understand that people who do not act properly, supposedly to us, properly or effectively or harmoniously or not the best way, look, if they knew better, they would do better. If they had developed it, they would do it. So we cannot judge anybody for, not being perfect or doing the right thing. How could they? When they haven't developed it, or us when we haven't developed it? So I hope that also gives you another bit of, the self-love and compassion for self and others in a way that is not forced or ideological, but realistic. Yeah.
One of the things that I always used to say is you realize that your thoughts are at best an approximation of reality. At worst, they can drive you crazy. So
Yeah.
be careful about your thoughts and your beliefs. Be present and see what happens. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. Yeah, Inger, go ahead. No, I thought you had a hand up.
Manijeh, we're out of time, so if you want to wrap it up and say a few words, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. And again, the takeaway would be we as human beings do not come with a pre-programmed standard template. It seems really a good thing because we are all diverse and we have our willpower and all that, but then it's problematic. And so we can fix it, we can change it, we can become whole and integrated by looking at the bigger, more comprehensive ways, and little by little, one thing at a time, we can look and do it better. Thank you for doing that. And if you want to find me, I'm on Perfectly Here. If you're interested in our programs, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to engage anybody. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely presentation. Thank you.